Doing a little fall pumpkin carving here. So I've already kind of worked on these little pumpkins a couple times with the 22, but we're going to step up to the Taurus tracker. This is the 692 model, so this one is a 7-shot, and it has a dual cylinder, either in 9mm or in 357 Magnum. The round I'm going to use is a Liberty Ammunition Civil Defense. It's a 50 grain monolithic fragmenting hollow point, and I believe they're rated at 2100 feet per second. So we're going to see what it does to these three little pumpkins here. I got them all lined up. I'm going to put this on slow-mo and see if we can get a good shot. Alright, so this was that pumpkin that was sitting in front. I shot right here, and it literally did what it's supposed to do. It just kind of blew up right on impact. And as you can see, a little bit of it went through the backside, but not much. Pretty wild. So in the pumpkin, the Liberty Ammunition dumps all of its energy immediately upon hitting the target. So now I gotta go get I guess a different type of bullet. Alright, up next is a 158 grain Underwood 357 Magnum. So that had a more desirable effect there. It went all the way through and through all three pumpkins. But I think it's time to move on to something bigger and badder. And we're going to break out the 454 Casull, and I'm going to shoot it in both the rifle and the handgun. And I'm also going to shoot two different weight bullets in there. We're going to go from a 300 grain hollow point all the way down to a 78 grain hollow point that's going really fast, and we'll see what happens. Up next, we're going to shoot the Taurus Raging Hunter. This is the 5-inch model. This is actually chambered in 460, but we're shooting 454 Casull out of it. And the first round we're going to start with is a 300 grain Swift A-frame hollow point, and these will be traveling, this one will be going about 1500 feet per second out of the short barrel. As you can see, it definitely went through and through the pumpkin and split it wide open. Now it's important to note that pumpkins are not as energetic as watermelons are, because they kind of have a hollow cavity in the center. Watermelons explode the way they explode because they have so much water, and water doesn't like to be compressed when it wants to go somewhere when you try to compress it, so it's got to have space to move out. And basically that's the reason why watermelons just explode in every direction when you shoot them, even with lower powered handguns and rifles and that sort of thing. So the next round we're going to shoot out of this 484 Casull is one of my own, and this is a 78 grain monolithic fragmenting hollow point. And these, in the 5-inch barrel, I have recorded velocities upwards of 3,000 feet per second. So they're actually outputting about the same amount of energy as that 300 grain A-frame hollow point, but even though that they're a lot lighter, they're just going a lot faster. So let's see what this does. Alright, so some interesting things happen. The one we shot with that Swift A-frame was sitting about right here. That's this pumpkin. And I'm not sure if that was the entrance or if that was the entrance. They both look about the same. I'm going to say this stuff kind of peeling out the back means that that's probably the exit. And so it went through there, come out there, obviously split the watermelon. Now with the 78 grain monolithic fragmenting hollow point, I'm almost certain that this is the entrance, and then it looks like we didn't really get an exit. It kind of popped off part of the back of the watermelon there, so that bullet actually just stayed, dumped all the energy right into this pumpkin. Now another difference is you see the table right here where this one was sitting when it got hit with the 300 grain A-frame. The table's not deformed at all, it's fine. But the table here, where this pumpkin was sitting, is obviously something has happened. It's like all of the pressure, it just forced it down into the table. So that was kind of cool. Now, I've got a couple larger pumpkins. We're going to see what these same rounds do in a rifle. Going a lot faster, so instead of 1500 feet per second for the Swift A-frame, we're going to be looking at around 2,000, and then instead of 3,000 feet per second for the monolithic 78 grain hollow point, we're going to be looking closer to 4,000 feet per second. Alright, so now I'm bringing out the Browning 1885 high wall, and this is chambered in 454 Casull. First round up, of course, like last time, is going to be the 300 grain Swift A-frame. Now, when you go from a 5-inch barrel and these running around 1,500 feet per second, you increase the barrel length to 28 inches like this rifle has, you increase the velocity quite a bit. So instead of about 1,500 feet per second, we're going to be looking more about 2,000, maybe just a little over 2,000 feet per second. So here we go. Pumpkin on the left will be first. As we can see, it just puts a big nasty hole in it. Alright, and like I said before, pumpkins aren't real energetic to begin with, so, you know, they're not going to be as spectacular as shooting a watermelon, even though I'm only shooting these at, maybe 5 feet away from the muzzle. And then the second round, again, is the 78 grain monolithic hollow point and the 454, and when I've tested these run a little over 4,000 feet per second at the muzzle, and that's done through calculation. At 10 feet from the muzzle over the chronograph, we're looking at 3,970 feet per second. So, right at 4,000 is probably what's going to hit this pumpkin. Another huge gnarly hole, and now I've got pumpkin all over me. It just kind of blew right back at me, so. So for the 300 grain Swift A-frame, you can see got complete pass through there. Here's what the exit looks like. It's pretty interesting the way the water just kind of went around it. Or I think that maybe that's squeezing out of the fractures in the pumpkin. And then for the 78 grain, the entrance wound is larger considerably. And let's see if it exited. It looks like we got a little bit of an exit, but it looks like probably most of the fragments are inside this pumpkin. Now, let's start looking at some interesting things here. Where that little bullet fragmented, you've got spots where pieces went through the pumpkin. But I'm willing to bet that within inside that pumpkin there are several pieces of little fragmenting hollow point. Anyway, that's all I got for today. If you like this kind of stuff, like, share, subscribe. Maybe consider joining the channel, become a supporter. And we'll see you guys next time in the next video.